I'm here with art history student and architect enthusiast Adeline. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, could you take us a little bit through the history of Brutalist architecture within Birmingham?
Of course. So Brutalism sort of begins in Birmingham in the 1950s with ideas to redevelop the city to be a sort of a car-centric city. So people like Herbert Manzoni with his ideas of sort of these urban ring roads. As well as the wider post-war moment, so ideas about the welfare state, the growth of sort of this energy glut that the UK was experiencing, and the growth of new ideas around architecture. The construction of buildings like the Rotunda, for example, sort of began in the 1960s, but you have buildings dating from the 50s, like the Ringway Centre.
So we're now going to move to one of the most important post-war Brutalist architecture pieces in Birmingham. Now, we're coming over to the other side of Grand Central. We're at one of the most important buildings in the train network, the signal box. Now, can you tell us a little bit about what's so special about this building?
I mean, it was built in 1964 to 1966 by the architects Bicknell and Harrington, assisted by Diana Quinn. And it's sort of an archetypal example of Birmingham brutalism. It's sort of rough, textured concrete facade, the prominent fascia, its commitment to functionality, its use of concrete, as well as that really delicate glass that intersperses. If you look at it sort of in the wider context of the time and in the technical limitations, it's a really ingenious building as well. It was built to withstand the sort of noise of trains and built to withstand the sun as well, so the delicate electrical equipment inside can be damaged. It's really fantastic as a building. Like, it's full of these really interesting features, you know?
That was really interesting. So
Yeah.
I was once told that this was the picture on your phone lock screen.
Yes, yeah.
So you've obviously got quite an affinity for it. What stands out to you on this building?
I think my favourite feature is, well, there's two actually. It's either the sculptural quality, looks like a minimalist sculpture really, like a Barnett Newman, or the red stairs which kind of cut through the sort of seriousness of this building with kind of a playful edge. You know, they're very playful compared to the wider sort of very seriousness, the very serious nature of the building, you know?
Yeah. Now, as an amateur in the architecture world myself, I can really see the appeal to this building. It does stand out. When you're on the train, it really pops going past.
Of course, yeah.
No, I like it. Well, thank you very much. We're here at the Ringway Centre in Smallbrook, Queensway. Now, before we get into the building, what is it about Brutalist architecture that attracts you?
I guess Brutalism has a sense of heroism to it, of a hope for a new world. It's a really dynamic architectural style. It's convinced of its own, it's confident, it's convinced of its own purpose, its own neededness, really. It's fantastic.
Now, it's a very standout building. It's quite large. What features about it really stand out to you?
I guess the sinuous form of the building, the patterned concrete panels, and the uplighters. When the building was first constructed in 1958 to 1960, the uplighters would have bathed the building in undulating waves of light. Unfortunately, they do not work anymore, and this would have reflected onto the rhythm of the patterned concrete. The precast concrete panels are just fantastic in their innovation. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, like you said, such a big building, it must have served a purpose.
Yes. So at the time, it was the longest shopping frontage in the entire country, as well as housing a ballroom, office space, conference centres. It really was a multifunctional space, which sort of gives into the Brutalist ethos of functionality.
Now, you mentioned the Brutalist ethos of functionality. We're going to move over to another very functional building in Birmingham. So we're back on our very own campus in the University of Birmingham. Now, walking around campus, you can see a lot of Brutalist architecture. Why do you think that is?
Well, Brutalism was really popular as an architectural style for universities in the 60s. I guess the engineering building, I believe it's the University of Leicester, is a really distinctive example of that. But Birmingham also experienced that with the sort of new universities movement. The construction of buildings like the one we're in now, the Ashley Building, or the Muirhead Tower, or the Strathcona Building really have that kind of forward-looking, pioneering, innovative spirit that Brutalism kind of encapsulates.
Now, there was a lot of redevelopment in 2007. So how has that affected the Brutalist landscape of Birmingham University?
Well, you can see it most clearly in the Muirhead Tower. The Paternoster lift, which was one of the original features, was removed in favour of a more conventional lift. The lift shafts were sort of added, because the two towers are offset from each other, basically. But they put a lift shaft in the middle of it, which is in this really bright, shiny steel, which I personally think contrasts very badly with the sort of rough concrete of the tower. Furthermore, the Starbucks was added on, as well as making the building more accessible, which is what I do agree with.
Now, I think the building we're in definitely avoided a lot of that redevelopment.
Yes.
So what of the original building is kind of kept in?
Well, the sort of wood and glass fixtures, the sort of distinctive blocks, the lino flooring. Originally, the building had a fountain in the centre. That was taken out, unfortunately, as well as sort of just this real light sense of airiness and space.
That's such a shame that they took the fountain out.
Yeah, it really is upsetting.
No, well, I have to ask before we go, what is your favourite piece of Brutalist architecture?
I know it's a very cop-out answer, but it is the Barbican Centre in London. I think that's just absolutely fantastic with its use of plants, its water features, its very brave use of incorporation of housing into an art centre. It's absolutely fantastic.
It is quite a standout building.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for coming and having a chat with us.
Thank you so much.
Now, we'll hand the mics back to you guys in the studio.